Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy. And in this one, we are back not on For Honor, but we're actually going to be talking about For Honor, and that is the patch that went live yesterday. I wanted to get this out a little bit earlier too, but my power just decided to go out, so that's not very good. So this is patch 2.20.2, and maybe you guys were interested in on my thoughts on it. I do get asked questions about patches all the time, or maybe you're just interested in listening to the Sonic Mania OST, which is probably going to be the background music, but regardless, I am going to talk about it. I'm not going to go over everything, especially in the damage values, probably only the characters that I play a lot and can actually give good opinions on. I mean, I can't always speak for all the other characters because I don't have a ton of experience with them, but and it would also make this a 40-minute video, and I don't specifically want to do that, but I will point out some numbers that I do find to be either good or bad in certain instances. So let's go ahead and get into it. Drop a like if you are enjoying my content. I would appreciate it. It helps me know. That's like the main way that I can tell if you guys are enjoying the content. So let's get into it. So the first thing is being Warmonger. Obviously, the feat nerf was coming as soon as that character got launched. Honestly, the feat nerf was probably coming as soon as they did the reveal for them. So corruption, unfortunately, this will affect Nucia as well because they're changing like how the feat works as a whole, and it's no longer triggering by having soldiers from your team in the area of effect, so you can't proc it off of minions, which is 1,000,000% I think justifiable. It doesn't need to be there, especially for the Warmonger as a vanguard being on the B point and actually clearing minions. You get more renown, so using that and you don't actually have to clear minions, it made fighting on B point basically just completely unfun. Not fun at all. It was not fun. So after this update, hopefully you can venture out of your home point and go onto the B point and actually be able to involve yourself in the game a little bit more. And the Corruption Blade, which is the first feat, the active cooldown has actually gone down, so you have 15 seconds to land a successful hit, and the cooldown of the feat itself has been increased to 75 seconds from 60. Honestly, I feel like they probably could have nerfed the damage as well. It's a tier 1 feat. I don't really specifically think that you should be able to get 100 damage from a tier 1, and plus with like the other passives for the second and third feat later on in the game, still makes it a, relatively strong in my opinion, but hey, these are still very good changes. And the Corruption Blast, which is the fourth feat, got a 30-second increase to the cooldown, so these are all very, very good changes. I think definitely warranted for sure. Then we have a couple stamina things, the main thing being attacks that are light attacks are going to be 9 stamina versus 12 before, so people thought 12 stamina was maybe a little bit too much for lights, so this should hopefully help you out a little bit, but combo lights are going to stay at 6, so things like Shaolin's triple light, Warden's double side light, those things are going to be 6 stamina instead of 9, so that's going to be very good. And also they say Berserker's light attack after heavy feints is going to be 6, which should help out Zerk. Zerk kind of was in a spot to where they were running out of stamina relatively quickly, which as Zerk should be just constantly throwing attacks at you when you ran out of stamina very, very fast. That kind of defeated the purpose, so hopefully this does help them out. And now we are moving into the bulk of this, and there is a ton of changes right here in the damage department. And like I said, I can't speak on all of them. This video would be super, super long, but I will speak on a majority of them. They basically looks like they've normalized a lot of the damage across the board. Pretty much all the attacks, opener heavies are usually doing between 20 to 30, and finisher heavies are somewhere between 25 to 35 damage for a lot of the casts. So it's pretty much normalized across the entire board. Like, you don't really see too much disparity between a lot of the characters. There are some, this isn't a perfect update, but I do like the way these changes are going. I also wanted to point out they put this little thing right here. They've raised zone attack damage for heroes that rely on them as their sole guard break punish, which would be like, I guess, Highlander, maybe Jang Jun specifically. I don't know if there's any other ones off the top of my head, but just wanted to point that one out as well. Alright, so first up we have Aramusha. I obviously play a decent amount of Aramusha, and I honestly feel like he got a little bit of a buff. Still, his heavies are going to be very, very slow, and they did get decreased on the opener and finishers. Like, the finisher heavies are now 31, but that happened across the entire board, so I'm not that upset about it. But he did get quite good buffs to his first zone second attack, which does 30 damage now, which I find to be pretty solid. And he got a lot of buffs to his blade blockade. Like, Fury Unleashed, which I believe is the top heavy one, does 24 damage. That is pretty high. I don't think it's ever done 24 damage. I think before it did 20, and then with the CCU it was 15, and that's a 9 damage increase. That's pretty freaking good. Twin Vipers goes to 32. I'm pretty sure that's what it did originally, and Ring the Bell goes back to 15, which is what that also did originally. So quite a nice buff for the blade blockade. Maybe they're doing this to coincide for the lack of opening power Aramusha has, but I mean, he's still going to be kind of hard to get your combos going, but this is definitely a nice little buff to see for him. I mean, Berserker looks like every single fucking attack got changed on him. It looks like mostly some nerfs from between like 3 to 5 damage on most of the attacks. The zone attack does 16 damage now instead of 12, which is, I guess, a little bit thing to note for buffs. Also, the spin chop does 15 instead of 11, and the head slicer does 15 instead of 13. Most of the other stuff is nerfs on him, so I can't really speak too much on Zerk as I don't play him that much, but you guys can let me know how he is in the comments. Blackbriar also got a lot of damage nerfs. I still think they'll be okay because they have a lot of tools with the character, a lot of good recovery, just good options in general. So they did get a decent nerf to the damage that they got, but I still think they should be okay. With Centurion, just gathering my information right here, it looks like all of his opener and finisher heavies, being partial or full charge, got somewhere between a 1 to 3 damage nerf on there, which I don't think is too crazy. Some things that we should know is the zone attack deals 12 damage per strike. I'm assuming that's per hit, so it's 12 damage, or maybe it's 4. I'm not exactly sure, but it's up from 8, so it could be potentially 36 damage. I'm not 100% sure if that's what that's saying, but that would be nice. And then Eagle's Talon did get reduced down to 30 because no attacks are really dealing 40 anymore. Conquer seems like their opening heavy damage is pretty low. The full charges are still okay, but the main thing that I guess you can see is that the flail uppercut does 20 now. Know a lot of conks use that tool. That's probably nice for them to see. Again, don't play conk too much. You guys can let me know about that. Nothing too crazy with like Glad as well. Still kind of the same, like 2 to 5 damage nerfs on a lot of the attacks. The sprint attack does a lot less damage. The finisher heavies is probably the biggest like nerf. It's 5 damage down, but still 30 is relatively high considering the rest of the cast as well. It's not too bad. Basically now Bee Sting. I don't know what the fuck Bee Sting is, but that does 15 damage up from 12, and then the Toe Stab does now 9 damage up from 6. So I guess those are the main things you could point out right there. I don't really care about Glad, so you guys let me know how you feel about that. Next up, we have Highlander, and I feel like they looked at Highlander and they were just like, you know what, 30 damage sounds to be good. So all of his like defensive heavies and finishers are right around 30. 2 of them do 29, and then also his offensive form, unblockable heavies, do 30 damage as well. Celtic Curse got a little bit of a nerf, but some stuff did get buffs. Offensive lights do 1 more damage. The zone attack, first and second strike, deal a lot more damage, but if you get hit by a Highlander zone attack, you probably deserve to get that much damage dealt to you. As well as the sprint attack, the first strike does 28, which is pretty high, but again, you probably should not get hit by that, and if you do, well, that's on you, Chieftain. So Highlander still looks like they should be alright. Next we got Hitokiri. Hitokiri does less damage now. The full charge unblockable still deals 34, which is relatively high considering the rest of the numbers in the game. The zone attack got a pretty big nerf down to 16 damage. I think Hitokiri will still be kind of ass in 4s, but I think maybe they toned it down because you can still get heavies pretty frequently with like the kick and the mix-up and everything in 1v1s. So maybe that's why they dropped it down, but yeah, Hitokiri, I don't know. They're probably not that great anymore. I mean, Jang Jun still looks like he does pretty high damage. The sprint attack second hit does 25 now. That's a pretty big buff. And all of these swirl attacks that I have no idea what they are. I'm assuming they're just out of Sifu's. Do 2 more damage, but JJ looks to be fine as well. Jormungandr's got a pretty decent nerf to a lot of the heavy attacks, and the Hammer Slam got nerfed. It's now at 38 damage, which still, even though it used to be 50 damage, 38 is one of the highest damaging attacks in the game, right? It does take a little bit of stuff to actually be able to use it, but it is one of the higher damaging attacks now. Alright, now we have Kensei. I figured fucking Kensei was going to get more damage nerfs. It only made sense, I guess. I don't really care too much about it. I'll still play him. The sprint attack deals 20. The 24 damage sprint attack was really, really good. Maybe the most gruesome thing that has potentially come out from this patch is Nature's Wrath now deals 22 damage instead of 25. Back when it was actually doing some decent damage, I thought there was a glimmer of hope, but yet they have taken that away from us once again. I will still continue to throw the attack and successfully hit it, as it is the best attack in the game, but it is sad to see it get a 3 damage nerf. Some other things like Swift Strike does a little bit less damage, but Helm Splitter does a little bit more. Just a little things here and there. I don't think Kensei's too bad. His chain heavies are pretty low, but I still think I'll be okay with him. Lawbringer, again, don't play too much Lawbringer, but the main thing, Impaling Charge deals 1 damage. I feel like people really only do that with a ledge or a wall in mind, so I guess that's fine with it being low damage, because you usually get a heavy off of it, or you just end up killing the person. Also, Blind Justice, I think that's his light parry top unblockable, deals 25 now, and I'm assuming the Swift Justice finisher, which is the light after, does 5, so his light parry punish is now 30, which seems pretty normalized as well. I don't know. People say Lawbringer's not that fun to play anymore because, I mean, he doesn't have like hyper armor anymore on his like shove and shit like that. But I don't know. I don't fucking like Lawbringer, so I don't really care too much, but it still seems fine to me. Next, we have Nobushi. Nobushi feels like she got a lot of damage down nerfed to her. Like her chain lights are dealing 6 less damage. I feel like people don't really throw too many chain lights to begin with, but that is a pretty big nerf. Heavies are 24 and 29 for opening and finishers. I felt like maybe they would have been over 30 because I thought Nobushi always had one of the like higher heavying numbers in the game. And then also Cobra Strike deals 2 damage, which is down from 13. I'm assuming that's just like 2 damage with bleed stacked on top of it instead of 13 damage with bleed stacked on top of it. So I guess it is quite a bit of a nerf for Nobushi. And Nobushi kind of sucks, so I guess if you're a main, I guess I would feel that a little bit. So, but yeah, you guys can let me know how that is because I rarely touch Nobushi. Next, we have Nusha. Nusha's heavies got nerfed to being 24, 27, and 30 for the chain heavies, which I don't think is too bad. To be completely honest, she does have some buffs to damage in here with the crescent jab, crescent step. Those are doing a little bit increased damage. The Echo Strike, which I believe is the deflect, does 30 now, which is pretty high, honestly. The Glass Waltz got decreased, and the Zone Attack is actually up as well, 28 damage, because you don't rarely hit an actual zone attack on people, so that will be pretty nice to get a little bit of buff on there. Orochi, the main things I saw with Orochi, obviously deflects being a thing, so his Wind Gust, which is the light deflect, does 24 damage instead of 20. Not too bad of a buff. Hurricane Blast now does 36, which is the heavy one. Granted, you don't really pull it off too frequently, but 36 damage definitely is a lot better than it was before. I know it was 50, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty good one. But what I wanted to actually look at is he got a lot of good damage on both his Riptide Strike and Storm Rush. So the Riptide Strike is the dash back light. That's 20 damage, and then all of the Storm Rush from every direction does 20 damage as well. So Orochi got a pretty decent damage buff on those moves. Now we have Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper, she's I don't know how to say it. She's just fucking trash. It's like the only character that has opener heavies like under 20, and the only character that has finisher heavies like under like 25, pretty much. So I don't know what they thought about this. Maybe they thought people were landing heavies on Peacekeeper, which just doesn't happen. It's very, very strange to see. Basically, the only good thing they got is the second hit of the zone attack does 22 damage, but like, I don't know, Peacekeeper looks kind of shit, to be honest. I think they changed her dashing heavies now are 8 damage instead of 5, so I guess that got a little bit of a bump, but Peacekeeper kind of seems like she's comparable to a trash bin, so yeah, doesn't look too good for her. Raider looks fine on damage, to be honest to me. The Raider's Fury, which is the finishing zone unblockable, does 38, which again is one of the higher damaging attacks in the game, which I don't think is too bad. I still think Raider will be fine. Shaman got a bit of stuff as well, a lot of heavy damage nerfs, because Shaman was doing insane damage on her heavies, I do recall. Also, a couple things to note out, the Predator's Mercy, which is the bite, now does 35 damage and heals for 15 instead of doing 40 damage and healing for 20, so that's a bit of a nerf to that as well. Again, don't play Shaman too much. You guys let me know how that feels. I think she'll be okay because she still has a lot of tools. But yeah, Shaolin got a lot of damage nerfs as well. The chain lights got decreased. I don't really see too many people throw out chain lights, so whatever, I guess. The heavy damage I did feel was pretty good on Shaolin before, so I guess it's understandable that it did get nerfed down a little bit. But probably the main thing is that the Sun Kick Strike, which is after you go into Chi Stance and then you do the kick into light, that does 14 damage instead of 20. Bit of a nerf to him there, but looking at this, he definitely seems like he won't be doing as much damage, but like I said, values have kind of been normalized across the cast. I'll have to see how Shaolin feels. I haven't really played him too much since this. Shinobi basically got a lot of damage reduction on the ranged heavies. That was quite an annoyance because it was doing almost 30 damage for ranged heavies. It was pretty good. I don't really know too much. Some of these numbers with like the deflects and stuff. I know his deflect did like 9 damage before. I'm not exactly too sure reading some of this, like what his deflect does. Is it 10 damage now? I'm very confused. I don't exactly know. Is it 6 damage? I don't know which one his deflect is, but it doesn't look like that got buffed too much. So maybe you're not going to be throwing deflects on Shinobi still. I'm not 100% sure. You guys let me know. I don't fucking like Shinobi, so I have no idea. But the character just has some flawed design in my opinion. So I feel like they never really will work as a character because it's just kind of got some weird clunky mechanics that will either make it like kind of overpowered or just completely shit. Shugoki got some nerfs as well. I'll talk about some of the other Shugoki nerfs when we get to the thing talking about his frame advantage lights, but a lot of damage nerfs for the partial charge, full charge heavies and everything. The finisher top heavy still does 38, which, as you guys know, top heavy meta. We got to continue to do that. Some notable things at the bottom. Demon Balls 24, it's a 5 damage nerf. Demon's Embrace dealing 22 and healing for 18 is actually a pretty big nerf, because you used to be able to finish someone off with a Demons who had 1 bar, and now you will not, so you got to get a little bit more chip damage in on there. I still think Shugo will be aight, but, you know, it does suck to see. Tiandi, I don't fucking know what the damage. They're still probably just gonna dodge around you, so I'm sure they're fine. So with Valk obviously got some heavy nerfs. I still think 30 damage for the finisher is fine. I hit a lot of finisher heavies, so I think that's okay. Pouncing Thrust, I think that's the dash forward light, does 16, which is pretty high, honestly. What else we see? The light superior block got increased. Shoulder pin does 4 damage instead of 1, so I think that's what, 24, because I think it had 20 damage of bleed. And then the zone attack second hit does 20. Which is double what it did before. That's kind of cool. So I think Valk will be just fine. Warden got a lot of stuff nerfed. No like increases to any of the damage. All the heavies got nerfed. The Valiant Breakthrough got nerfed. The Crushing Counter-Strike got nerfed. The Combo Lights got nerfed. The running attack got nerfed. Honestly, I don't really fucking care. Warden, you can go backstep, bash your way into the corner and cry about it. But yeah, no, that probably does hurt Warden players. Warlord got a lot of stuff nerfed as well for damage. Still looks like it'll be okay. Some things down at the bottom, the shield cutter combo is 15, the board and blade deals 24 damage, which is a pretty big buff, and then the block and stab is now 15, so I still think Warlord's going to be a pretty strong character. Xianhu, again, damage nerfs. Of course, I felt that this was going to be coming. Xianhu had actually a lot of high damaging heavies on there, so it makes sense that they did decrease it. 32 is still fine, plus with like Winner's Advantage, it'll be doing pretty decent damage, and everything else kind of just got changed by like 1 or 2, so not too bad for Xianhu. And then the Warmonger, again, got nerfed pretty much for like 5 damage for their heavies. I don't know what Prey Upon is, but it deals 5 less damage. The Beast of Prey does 1 more damage, and then On the Prowl deals 2 less damage. So again, Warmonger should be fine. Warmonger has tools to fight, so I still think they'll be okay in getting in damage. Now we have some stamina damage adjustments. So basically these are attacks that you would get hit with and that they would actually drain your stamina. They have all been adjusted to drain 30 stamina across instead of their previous values, which again, they're normalizing this stuff. I think it's fine. Valk, it was funny that this fucking the finisher lights did 80 stam. That's 2/3 of your stamina bar pretty much. That's kind of insane. It makes sense that that's down there. Gladiator, Parry, Punish, and the Bamboozle, again, pretty good, like, I guess, ganking tools. Does a lot of stam, that's fine. Tiandi Kick, you didn't really notice too much. The Shaolin Kick was good for ganks. Centurion, Fully Charged Punch, obviously it's not as crazy, 40 to 30, but it should help. The Lawbringer, heavy, won't notice as much, but it does drain a bit. Aramusha's Kick, 40, you know, it's pretty high. Nabushi Kick is 40. Shugoki Headbutt is 50, obviously. I don't think it was that hard to dodge Shugoki Headbutt, but again, 50 stamina is pretty high. And the Warlord Parry Punish is 60. It's down to 30, so I think that'll help out as well. But there are some attacks on here that I noticed that they didn't talk about that I feel drain a lot of stamina as well. One being JJ's Choke, still I'm assuming is draining 60. That is kind of OP because, again, when you get out of stam with it, it actually knocks you over and you get a full fucking punish. A lot of these attacks, they'll put you out of stamina, but you don't fall over when it does happen and get a free punish out of it. But yeah, JJ's definitely needs to get changed. And I also felt like Warlord's Crashing Charge was taking a lot of stam as well. I could be completely wrong on that, but you guys can let me know. But yeah, definitely JJ should get looked at for sure. So the final thing actually in here is with Shugoki. I have some mixed feelings on this. Shugoki's light attacks having 833 MS of recovery on hit and 733 MS of recovery on block, which makes it so he is not frame advantaged after hitting his light attacks. So in a sense, I understand why this change was made. You could just basically throw a light on Shugoki or just keep tacking and you would basically win all the trades because of his hyper armor and his high damage. I understand how that's very, very annoying, but it also comes down to the fact that the character's kit really offers nothing else for him to really do. If you take away Shugoki's lights and everything, he has to start with his heavies. Yeah, you can throw some just like neutral heavies and everything, but if you start to like charge up or partially charge your heavies, you become very GB vulnerable. People can GB out of that. It happens all the time for me. And if people dodge or back roll, he has insane recovery that can be punished on, you know, both of his heavy follow through plus things like Demon's Embrace. You're not going to lead with a Demon's Embrace because it's still 2000 MS of recovery. Leading with a zone isn't really a good thing to do anymore unless you have Revenge because the zone does 60 stamina and that's basically not worth it for the amount of damage that you can actually get, even though if it does hit in a wider arc than a lot of attacks, so you kind of are just left with your lights and heavies. And Shugoki doesn't really have any things to counteract bashes, so he kind of just has to continuously attack and hope that he hyper armors through some stuff in order to kind of start up things, because if someone someone, if you actually adapt against the Shugoki and just like roll away and play super defensive, it is not hard to beat them, in my opinion, as someone who has almost 70 reps on the character. I know that they are strong, but again, I don't think they're that hard to actually go up against. But I still think at the end of the day, the character will still be alright. He's still good helping out in ganks and everything. If you have a teammate there with you, just when you get caught out in like 1v1 or 1vx scenarios is where Shugoki actually really does struggle. So it can be kind of hard, but he still has his good externals and being able to target swap. So I think he'll be okay. But at the same time, like, they changed this, but it's just because Shugoki doesn't have any other options really in his kit. It's kind of poor design in my opinion, but I understand why it got made, and I'll still continue to play the character. And then there was just a bug with Kensei shit, but yeah, we don't really care about that. So this is everything here. Let me know what you guys think. I definitely feel we're heading in the right direction, normalizing the attacks across the board, make it so that there's no real disparity. So one character's doing, like 40 damage heavies, where one character's doing 20 damage heavies, which unfortunately the only case where that is prevalent is Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper is absolutely terrible. That is something that does need to get changed. Again, I don't think it's perfect, but we are slowly moving in the right direction. Again, let me know what you guys feel about this in the comments. Again, with console 2, I don't know what to tell you guys, okay? I've had plenty of people tell me that it's completely unplayable. I've had plenty of people tell me it's just fine. I played some games on it. It didn't feel too bad to me. I'm sorry, I don't have any answers for you. They did say like a long time ago that there wouldn't be separate balancing for console and PC, so I really don't know what options to give you guys. I just hope that maybe you find ways to enjoy the game. Honestly, I don't know what to say in terms of that. So hopefully we continue to get more patches, and this isn't like the final patch that we get, and then we don't get anything for like 2 months, because that would be extremely shitty, and that might honestly kill the game. But we are moving in the right direction, and I definitely think that these are very, very good changes, and I'm very happy that the dev team has been working diligently to fix some of the mistakes that they did make. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, comment, subscribe. I definitely rambled on more than I wanted to again, but yeah, we were just talking about it. It's a very big patch, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate you. Love you. It's been your boy Tony. Talk to you in the next one. Peace.